Alright, so Shauna says that the loft is too tall, and I've never really actually measured millimeter for millimeter and tried to get technical about measuring these knots. I've kind of guesstimated it and measured it in centimeters and then converted down to millimeters, but what we found is on closer inspection, inside of the bore, just above where the butterscotch is, there's a lip that was created when I was sanding the original part of the knot out. So what I need to do is I need to basically make the walls of inside of here, whatever geometric term, smooth, even, non-tapered. Basically there's a bump in there that I got to sand down to get that knot to drop farther down into that bore. So that's what I'm going to do next with the sanding drum still. Okay, so we'll be back. Alright, so after getting that bore drilled out and the knot plugged in, got the Sabby side by side here with our candidate. And it's kind of hard to do one-handed, but they're right at 2 inches, which is about 50 millimeters, 50.8 millimeters. The butterscotch is actually a rubber set, plasti set, 400N. Originally had a nylon knot. So anyway, the Sabby I also gave to Shauna when she first started because it was way too scritchy for me, but she liked how it exfoliated her legs, and she's actually got it broke in quite a bit this last year or so. But anyway, the Sabby and the newly almost re-knotted rubber set are both right about 2 inches, which is about 50.8 millimeters from the base to the top of the bristles. The 400N might be a tad shorter, but she signed off on it, so I'm going to go ahead and take some scratch and swirl remover, which I also used on the re-knot done for Jody, his Semogue clear and black handle. This stuff here really cleaned up the handle, cleaned up the marks left over from me having to drill the other knot out. So this one's going to clean up pretty good. We'll come back and show you how to mix up the resin and how to set a shelf inside there, and then we'll glue it up, and it should be cured enough for her to shave with in the morning. Alright, bye. Alright, so we got a little bit of an update. Shortly after popping the top on a barley pop, little George Killian's there, it was decided that she would like the loft just a little bit taller so it matches the Sabby a little more exactly. So how we do that is we pop the knot out, we take a quarter, we drop a quarter down in there, put the knot back in, and then wind them back up. And like I said, I don't really do an exact count, but just by eyeball you can see that it raises it up a little bit, and this is finally what she signed off on. So now I'm going to go ahead and polish up the knot, and then we'll glue this up. Alright, so we got it shined up. You can kind of see it's polished with the scratch and swirl remover. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a couple coats of turtle wax, and then we'll go ahead and mix up the glue and get the quarter shim seated, and then glue in the knot and be ready to go. Alright, so now we're ready to glue our knot. I've got a chopstick, I've got a little piece of cardboard, I've got Permatex 5-minute epoxy, I've got the handle, I've got a quarter that we're going to use for our shelf, and then I have the knot. It's a pretty straightforward process. The most important part of this whole thing is that you do not use too much epoxy. A small pool on top of that quarter, about the size and thickness of a nickel, is all that you're going to need to seat that knot. And if you don't think it's enough, go ahead and start with a pool the size and thickness of a nickel and start there. And if your knot falls out, you can always glue it back in. If you get all gung-ho with the epoxy, what's going to happen is the epoxy is going to bleed through into the hairs of your knot, and it'll still work, but it's kind of a pain. So I'm going to mix that up. Shauna is offering to hold the camera while I do that. She's been busy this afternoon. I was trying to surprise her, but then I had to get her input on some stuff. So here we go. So you take this off and you squeeze out. You're going to need some on there. It doesn't matter how much you put in here. You're going to need enough to, you know, get it going. And take your chopstick and mix this up. It'll turn slightly milky. When we order Chinese food, usually a lot of times we'll order Chinese on Fridays, and even though there's just the two of us, we always ask them for 4 pairs of chopsticks. Part of that is so we got leftovers, we can use the chopsticks on our leftovers, and part of it is so that I've got little mixing sticks, you know, because you got to have priorities. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our quarter down first. We got to ask Shauna what she wants pointing up, heads or tails?
Heads.
So she wants heads pointing up, so we're going to put the glue on the tails part of the quarter. So we're just going to get us some glue picked up, and we're going to put us a little dot of glue right there. That's about enough. And then what we'll do is we'll just take and pick the quarter up. We'll drop it, then we'll let it kind of cool a little bit. And then we'll drop it down in there. And then we'll kind of stir it around a little bit. A little more glue on there. Get some more glue, we'll spread it around better this time. We'll take and drop our quarter down in there. Get a paper towel. Clean that up real quick on the edges. Alright. Now we'll take our stick. We're going to load us up a pool of glue. We're going to drop it right down in there in the middle. We're just going to kind of spread it around. That's about the thickness of a nickel. That's all we need. We'll wipe off the excess of our stick. We're going to kind of just spread that around on the bottom. Get a little bit on the walls. And we'll take our knot. What I do is I take and I pinch the hairs back on the knot, and then I just take and drop it right down in there, push it down and seat it, and give it a little bit of a twist. Give it a fair amount of pressure. We're just going to kind of push it on there and hold on to it for a second. Now at this point, if you've used too much glue, the epoxy will come shooting out of the bore and into the hairs, which is what you don't want. So there you go. Now we'll just let it sit there. It's 5-minute epoxy. It means you've got about a 5-minute working time before it starts getting too tacky to work with. It's already starting to set up. You notice how much I have left over, quite a bit. Well, we'll go ahead and let that set overnight, and she should be able to use it in the morning.